for parents who believe soccer is a safe alternative to other contact sports. There's a new study out. It's been published in the journal Pediatrics. It finds that girls who play soccer are at nearly the same risk for a traumatic brain injury as a boy who's playing high school football. Joining us this morning with more is Dr. Jorge Chawla. He's a sports medicine physician with Midwest Orthopedics at Rush.
Yeah, good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for joining us. Yeah, so I guess the big question is why girls in that sport more so than boys?
There are multiple reasons. The first one being that the girls report that they had a concussion more often than men do. There's a statistic saying that 8 out of 10 guys will not tell you that they had a concussion to be able to keep playing. So that's a pretty dangerous thing to do. The second thing is that their musculature is not as strong, and therefore the shaking of the head can be more significant and therefore have a concussion. There are some recent literature suggesting that also the hormones can play a role. So girls in the first cycle, in the first period of the cycle, when they have a higher estrogen level, they are at the higher risk of having symptoms for longer than men do.
You mentioned literature. There's quite a bit of it, and this has been conducted over the last decade or so. One of the things, Doctor, I found interesting is when we're talking about post-concussion syndrome and what parents should be looking for in their kids, they can be very subtle symptoms, right? Can you talk about some of them?
That's correct. So the problem is that most of these kids that get injured, they do so not by a massive trauma, they do it by, multiple headers. So it's important to realize that sometimes those symptoms can be so subtle, like having a headache, blurred vision, cognitive symptoms, behavioral symptoms, that you can actually pick up by basically joining points and be able to tell this kid is having something that is not normal. And it's important to be able to consult with a doctor at that time point so this doesn't have an effect down the line.
I know more and more schools are doing what they can to educate the students and their families about what is a concussion, what happens. Do you think that I know at least for the school that my son went to, do you think at this point that there should be some more conversation at the national level when it comes to the the International Soccer Federation?
For sure. I think the more communication, the more information there is, the more aware we are, right? So I think understanding what it is, what are the symptoms, and which are the consequences of having a concussion are really important for parents to understand that this should be reported as soon as possible.
And there's no easy fix, right? When we talk about football, we talk about a helmet that they have now proven doesn't do a whole lot because the brain moves around inside the skull. And you were telling me, there are some people who are saying we should put headgear on the people playing soccer, the girls.
Yeah,
that may not do anything either, right?
That's correct. There's no helmet that has been designed to prevent concussions. So understanding what it is to be able to prevent further degeneration of the nerve cells is probably the most important thing. So resting and gradual return to sports are the things that we need to be taking care into consideration to try to limit the effect that a concussion can have on people.
It's very frustrating for the students because they want to play, but they have to be safe and realize that this is a real injury. This is a brain injury when you're suffering from a concussion.
That's correct. So we need to limit the time that we basically let the students or players to go back to whatever they want to do, because that can actually, there are some chemical changes in the brain that occur that makes them more sensitive to further injury. So if you let them go back too soon, those might be at risk for having a severe injury.
Dr. Jorge Chawla, thank you so much, Doctor, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.